CNN political commentator and political conservative Buck Sexton with me here in New York, and former UN and State Department official, also former Obama campaign foreign policy advisor David Tafuri. Brianna, let me begin with you. I know none of us had any guidance as to whether or not Hillary Clinton would address this. Are you surprised at all that she didn't?
I'm not necessarily surprised that she did not address this. Obviously, there was a possibility, but we haven't been getting a lot of guidance from her team, which we were just waiting to see if maybe she would address it. But I'm not particularly surprised, and I think there are still a lot of questions that remain. She has a couple other events this coming week, Monday and Tuesday. She has public events. We'll be watching those too, but still at this point, no indication she'll address them there.
David Tafuri, I know you've been defending the former Secretary of State throughout this, saying this is not as big a deal as you believe news reports are making it out to be. Why?
Well, the two most important principles are, was anything that was done illegal, and was classified information misused? And so far, what we know, the answer to both those questions is no. There was no law that prevented her from using her personal email as Secretary of State at the time she was Secretary of State, and there's no information to suggest that she mishandled classified information. Indeed, classified information would have been sent on a completely separate high-side email system on the State Department and wouldn't have been mixed with her State Department official email, even if she had been using that email. So I think we need to take a deep breath, wait for more facts to come in. She's produced 55,000 pages of emails that her team has said are responsive. The State Department needs to look through those and make sure that it agrees that those are the emails that are responsive. If there's any question that there are more emails that are responsive that have not been turned over, those can certainly be turned over too, and an archivist or an independent person can look through those emails and make sure that she's complied with the requirement of providing every email that was official that she sent during the time she was Secretary of State.
And just to be clear here, the 55,000 emails that her team has turned over to the State Department, those are at their discretion. Buck?
That's why it's ridiculous. I mean, forget about the notion of classified or not, and the possibility that there may have been some intermingling of classified information just because of the sheer usage of this private email account, which, by the way, was much more open to hackers, even as an open system, than it would have been if it was a government account. But on top of that,
some would argue with that. Someone would say, look, the State Department's a pretty big target for hackers.
Well, but the State Department also has people that look after hackers and intrusions, and so I think those people would be wrong. But also on the issue of transparency specifically, this was designed to defeat transparency, meaning that the Secretary of State now, Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State, gets to decide which emails get turned over to the State Department, which then gets to decide which of those emails they will release under Freedom of Information Act requests. Also, this is coming 2 years after she's left office. You have people looking into, for example, Benghazi, who don't have a complete record of the Secretary of State's communications during that period because of this specifically.
From these emails on Benghazi? Just, some people are skeptical that we're really going to learn more from Benghazi.
I don't know what we're going to get from the emails, but I know that we're not going to get anything that's damning about Secretary of State Clinton because she's in control of what emails we see. And so whether it's in the spirit of the law or the letter of the law or the letter of the regulation in this case, this was designed to make sure that she could get away with stuff and not share information with the public that otherwise she should have had to.
So guys, I want you, Brianna, go ahead.
If I could just make a couple points on that. You may recall last hour I made the point of there's a different system for the classified documents and one for unclassified. And we heard from Chris, he had said yes, but that means that she couldn't have maybe taken classified documents and then forwarded them using her email or something. But that doesn't mean that she would not have been physically capable, although there's no evidence of this, of discussing something that is classified in some sort of way. And then the other issue of the hackers, because the security is a big issue on this. And yes, the State Department unclassified system was hacked sometime recently, but we do understand, I've spoken to a number of cybersecurity experts on this who have also worked in government, and they say that even though that's been a target, this email, the account that she had, would have been far less secure than using the State Department email.
Great point. Brianna, I want you to listen to this sound and then get your reaction, because today, just in the past few hours, we've now heard from President Obama for the first time on this in an interview he just conducted with CBS. Listen.
Mr. President, when did you first learn that Hillary Clinton used an email system outside the U.S. government for official business while she was Secretary of State?
At the same time, everybody else learned it through news reports.
Were you disappointed?
Let me just say that Hillary Clinton is and has been an outstanding public servant. She was a great Secretary of State for me. The policy of my administration is to encourage transparency, and that's why my emails, the BlackBerry that I carry around, all those records are available and archived, and I'm glad that Hillary is instructed that those emails that had to do with official business need to be disclosed.
You say that you have the most transparent administration ever. You said it again just a couple of weeks ago.
It's true.
How does this square with that?
Well, I think that the fact that she's going to be putting them forward will allow us to make sure that people have the information they need.
Brianna, you covered the White House under this administration. What do you make of what he had to say there?
He's being careful, and he's certainly being nice. You heard him stress her service and saying that she was wonderful in his administration. That's partly because what's her problem right now is his problem. A lot of people in the White House see the best way to carry on his legacy is to elect Hillary Clinton to the White House. But here's a couple things that we should note as we kind of pull back the curtain on what's going on at the White House. What we've heard from a senior administration official is that for years, some White House officials were certainly aware that Hillary Clinton was using a personal email address. The red flag wasn't raised about this because they assumed that she was complying by putting that in the State Department record-keeping system. Just this last summer in August, following subpoenas that were issued from House Republicans, they became aware that indeed she was using, that she had not turned over these emails and put them in the State Department record-keeping system. We're told by this official that they became very alarmed at this point. So he's playing certainly nice there, putting on a good public face, but there is tension between the White House and Hillary Clinton on this.
Yeah, no question about it. And to you, David, I think it's surprising to a lot of us. Why did no one flag this sooner or bring it up as maybe a concern, especially for someone who could very possibly be a contender for the White House?
Well, that is surprising. That's why we need more information. I take it that the President and the Secretary of State never emailed with each other. That's why the President didn't know that she used a personal email. But certainly some people in the White House had to have been emailing with the Secretary of State. They must have known. Certainly there were other folks in the State Department who knew she used a personal email. When they were collecting documents to be responsive to congressional investigations like the Benghazi investigation, they must have known that they didn't have any emails from Hillary Clinton, so the State Department people who put together those documents must have known that she was using a separate email, or I guess assumed she wasn't using email at all. So a lot more facts need to come out, but we shouldn't presume that Hillary Clinton did this for this reason or that reason or to be secret. We need to find out why she used a personal email. Maybe it was an easier way for her to digest information. There are lots of other reasons why you use personal email. And I want to make one other point, which is, yes, it wasn't as protected as a State Department email account, but there was a layer of protection because no one knew she was using it. Which
the layer of protection is that she's in control of the
David,
emails.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm up against a break, and I have to let Buck get in here.
I just want to say this plays into a narrative that's not new. It actually stretches back to the 90s, which is the Clintons don't think the rules apply to them, and then a cloud of dishonesty and disingenuousness follows them everywhere. And this is just another example of that. It's not going to stop Hillary's candidacy, but we're going to see a lot more of this, and I think it should make people feel uneasy. There's no reason for her to do this unless she was trying to hide information from public display. That's it. There's no other motivation.
So they would beg to differ. We're going to have to leave it there. Buck, appreciate it. David, Brianna, thank you very much.